أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. قال المصنف رحمه الله والعرش والكرسي حق. The author At-Tahawi رحمه الله says the throne and the footstool are real and exist.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. The author rahimahullah ta'ala started to speak about other beliefs related to unseen, and those beliefs are related to Allah Jalla wa Ala. So as you know that the author right from the beginning spoke about the oneness of Allah Jalla wa Ala and some of the names and attributes of Allah Jalla wa Ala. Then he started to speak about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and some of the qualities of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then he started to speak about Qadr, and he spent long time speaking about Qadr. Then the author rahimahullah started to speak some of the unseen that is related to Allah Jalla wa Ala. And here he mentioned some of those characteristics that Allah Jalla wa Ala had for himself, created for himself. And he mentioned وَالْعَرْشُ وَالْكُرْسِيُّ حَقٌّ. The al-arsh is translated as the throne, and al-kursi is translated as the footstool. Both are real and existed because Allah Jalla wa Ala created them long time ago. And we remember the hadith when the Prophet ﷺ said أول ما خلق الله القلم فقال له اكتب فكتب مقادير كل شيء وكان عرشه على الماء. And we had the discussion there whether the qalam is the first thing to be created or the arsh, the throne of Ar-Rahman, is the first thing to be created. And we mentioned the disagreement or the views of the scholars there. The arsh, from a linguistic perspective, is as it translated here, the throne. The meaning is known. Same thing with the kursi, موضع القدمين. And it was translated, in fact, was mentioned in one of the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, hadith Abi Dharr radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. We will mention the hadith now, that al-kursi is موضع القدمين, is the footstool. Now, the meanings of both al-arsh and al-kursi, the meanings are known. The reality of them, how they look like, Allahu A'lam, we don't know. And remember, and I would like to repeat the discussion that we mentioned before. Remember it, please, my dear respected brothers and sisters, that we say that from a linguistic perspective, we have the word al-arsh, for example, or the translation of it, which is the throne, al-arsh, al-kursi, the hand of Allah Jalla wa Ala, the highness of Allah Jalla wa Ala. This is just a word, al-arsh, ra, sha. Then it has a meaning. The meaning is known to us. Okay, is known, is understood. It is not something to be seen. It is something to be understood. So it is the activity of the mind to understand it. So this is the second stage. The third stage is the reality of the meaning, which means that there is a huge difference between the meaning and the reality of the meaning. The reality of the meaning is something to be sensed by the five senses, such as touching it, smelling it, seeing it, and so on. So you do not see the meaning, you understand the meaning. If you remember this discussion, very important discussion. And once we understand this discussion and the differentiation between the three stages, we will be able to understand many things related to Aqeedah according to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and we will never be misguided, and we will never do ta'weel, reinterpretation for the meaning of what Allah Jalla wa Ala told us, or what the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told us. We will not do that, claiming that we want to do tanzih, or exalting Allah Jalla wa Ala, and we don't want to resemble Allah Jalla wa Ala with any of His creation, because once we say that the meaning of this word confirms that this attribute or this quality that Allah Jalla wa Ala attributed to Himself resembles the qualities that creation had. No. If we understand those, this will never happen. We will say that the meaning is known, and we might share the meaning, because the meaning is different from the reality. We will never share the reality. So if we have a hand, this is my hand, this is my hand. The meaning is clear. The reality of the hand is clear. I have seen it. Now, the meaning of the hand of Allah Jalla wa Ala is known. Okay, it is the same meaning, but the reality is not the same reality. So saying that the meaning is the same doesn't mean that we are doing tashbih or resembling Allah Jalla wa Ala to His creation. But resembling Allah Jalla wa Ala to His creation happens if we say that the reality, my hand, looks like the hand of Allah Jalla wa Ala, and this is totally against the belief of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and it is considered to be a belief of kufr. So same thing when we discuss about the Arsh and the Kursi, we say that the meaning is clear, but we don't know how the Arsh, the throne of Allah Jalla wa Ala, looks like, how the footstool of Allah Jalla wa Ala, or of the Arsh, sorry, that belongs to Allah Jalla wa Ala, looks like. But they are real, and they have been created, they are exist. And you know, the Arsh was mentioned in numerous ayat in the Quran. رفيع الدرجات ذو العرش. Allah Jalla wa Ala says ذو العرش المجيد الرحمن وعلى العرش استوى, and so on. Number of ayat that mention the Arsh and confirm the existence of the Arsh. And also, you know, the very famous ayah, the greatest ayah in the Quran, which is the ayah of Al-Kursi. Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum, la ta'khuduhu sinatun wa la nawm, lahu ma fi as-samawati wa ma fi al-ard, man dha alladhi yashfa'u 'indahu illa bi idhnihi, ya'lamu ma bayna aydihim wa ma khalfahum, wa la yuhituna bi shay'in min 'ilmihi illa bima sha'a, wasi'a kursiyyuhu as-samawati wal-ard. Okay? So the ayah of the Kursi, وَسِعَ كُرْسِيُّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. This, the ayah mentions the word Kursi, which is the footstool of the Arsh that belongs to Allah Jalla wa Ala. Also, in Hadith Abu Dhar, rahimahullah, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, normally narrate a hadith that are very distinguished, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. So one time he said that he came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the masjid, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was alone. Then he said, Ya Rasulullah, what is the best ayah that has been revealed to you? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ayatul Kursi. Then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, وَمَا السَّمَاوَاتُ السَّبْعُ فِي الْكُرْسِيِّ إِلَّا كَحَلْقَةٍ أُلْقِيَتْ فِي فَلَا وفضل العرش على الكرسي كفضل تلك الفلا على تلك الحلقة. The Prophet ﷺ said, the heavens and the earth, after he confirmed that the best ayah in the Quran is the ayah of Al-Kursi that all of us know. The Prophet ﷺ said, the heavens and the earth are like a small ring, halqa, a small ring that has been thrown in Fala, in a big desert. See, subhanallah, the greatness of the creation of Allah Jalla wa Ala, and in particular the Arsh of Allah Jalla wa Ala. Okay, so he said that the Kursi, the footstool, with respect to the creation of Allah Jalla wa Ala, is with the respect to the heavens and earth, is as if the heavens and earth to the footstool of Allah Jalla wa Ala as a small ring that has been thrown in a big desert. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, وَمَا الْكُرْسِي فِي الْعَرْشِ, means the ratio of the kursi towards the arsh of Ar-Rahman is like the ratio of a small ring that has been thrown in a big desert. So this hadith is considered to be a Hasan hadith. Many scholars accepted this hadith. It has various narrations, but it confirms two things: the existence of the arsh, as it is confirmed in the Quran. Not only this, but the size and the greatness of the arsh, and the size and the greatness of of the kursi of Allah Jalla wa Ala. Okay, and here the commentator mentioned hadith Imam Ahmad, which is considered hadith al-Aw'al, the very famous hadith of Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib. As you know, Al-Abbas is the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. They mentioned that he narrated very few hadith from the Prophet ﷺ, and this is one of them. And I just want to maybe read it because it is, subhanallah, a powerful hadith, or you can read it by yourself, طيب, in the sharh of this, just because of time. Okay, we can continue inshallah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال المصنف رحمه الله: وهو مستغن عن العرش وما دونه محيط بكل شيء وفوقه وقد أعجز عن الإحاطة خلقه. Allah is not in need of the throne and what is beneath it. He encompasses all and is above everything. His creation is not able to encompass him.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. As you know, brothers and sisters, that the author rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned in the previous point that wal arshu wal kursiyu haqq. The arsh is the throne of Allah Jalla wa Ala, and the kursi, which is the footstool, are both haqq. Here he wants to explain more about al-arsh. We mentioned that al-arsh, the throne of Allah Jalla wa Ala, was mentioned in numerous ayat in the Quran, and it was also mentioned in number of ahadith. And Allah Jalla wa Ala mentioned in the Quran that He established Himself above the arsh. ثم استوى على العرش, or الرحمن على العرش استوى in Surah Taha. الرحمن على العرش استوى, established Himself above the arsh. Or it can be translated as ascended the throne, or another translation, rose above the arsh. So this means that Allah Jalla wa Ala is above the throne. Now the author here wants to establish that we believe that Allah Jalla wa Ala is above the throne, but it doesn't mean that Allah Jalla wa Ala needs the throne to be beneath Allah Jalla wa Ala or under Allah Jalla wa Ala. Why is this? Because we have to believe that Allah Jalla wa Ala is Al-Ghani, as Allah Jalla wa Ala mentioned about Himself in numerous ayat in the Quran. And this is one of the names of Allah Jalla wa Ala, Al-Ghani. Al-Ghani originally means that Allah Jalla wa Ala is independent of anything, independent of His creation. He does not need His creation, essentially. He doesn't need His creation. And sometimes it refers to the meaning that Allah Jalla wa Ala is all rich. He gives His people, He doesn't take it from His creation, He doesn't need them, He doesn't need anything from them. He is the provider for them, Jalla wa Ala. So if Allah Jalla wa Ala is Ghani, He doesn't need His creation, so the fact that Allah Jalla wa Ala established Himself above the arsh or arose above the arsh, it doesn't mean that Allah needs the arsh by any mean. And the word istawa ala al-arsh, and Allah Jalla wa Ala is above the arsh, as the author or as the commentator here rahimahullah ta'ala said, that the sky is above us and we are beneath the sky, it doesn't mean that the sky needs us physically in order for it to be above us. No. And of course, Allah Jalla wa Ala, we cannot exemplify we cannot exemplify Allah Jalla wa Ala with the sky. But what we mean is that in Arabic language, the word above, it doesn't mean that he is physically attached to the thing that is below him or beneath him. This is one thing. Also, it doesn't mean that the above one or thing needs the one that is below it, and without the one that is below it or beneath it, it will fall down. It doesn't mean this at all. So once we establish the transcendence, the ulu of Allah Jalla wa Ala, it doesn't mean that Allah Jalla wa Ala, as we said previously, that Allah Jalla wa Ala is contained in a certain place. It doesn't also mean that Allah Jalla wa Ala needs whatever beneath him in order for him to be above everything, or in order for him to be established above everything. It doesn't mean that at all. This is the core meaning of this statement.